Welcome back to the Best of the Best tournament here live on Hexy's Twitch channel. I'm Dalsy, sat next to the beautiful bastard himself. Hexy, we just witnessed the winners bracket final. It was an absolute sluggerfest between Agony and Oracle, but in the end, Oracle were able to take it and are now sitting comfortably in the grand final here of the Best of the Best tournament. The losers bracket is coming up very shortly between the unfortunate loss of Agony in that winners bracket final and the gentlemen who have been lurking, patiently waiting, plotting, and doing the data on how they're going to play this series.
Yeah, that you couldn't ask for a better start to the finals. I mean, it was just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And honestly, there were so many situations where Agony almost won the entire thing, then Oracle almost won the entire thing. And it was just a lot of back and forth. A real treat to watch that. One thing I wanted to comment about, I'm just really stoked that we were able to fix the quality of the stream. We don't have these audio issues and the visual issues. And I'm just really happy about that. So I just wanted to say, heck yeah, we did it. But anyways, let's get into our next match. The gentleman and Agony going at it. So Agony coming off of a loss. Hopefully this doesn't get into their mind too much. And we know that the gentleman has obviously probably been watching some of their matches going on, knowing what they're going to kind of do and just trying to get a read as to far as what sort of builds. And, you know, you have to feel pretty good being in the gentleman's seat a little bit here, right? They saw what their killers were doing, and if you notice throughout that, and I'm sure they're paying attention because they're literally labbing it out, they're paying attention to these builds that they're doing. And if you notice, they're not really switching it up too much. For the most part, they ran very similar builds, maybe minus like a perk or so, every single time. So they're going to kind of know where they're going, what's happening with this. These are best of threes, so they will be able to somewhat get a read. But I mean, how do you get a read on Otstarva? How do you read this man? He literally has brought in all of these weird killers that we were not expecting. I mean, we literally saw a Wraith. If you would have bet me money that a Wraith would be picked in a competitive scene, I would have said, no way. Give me the money. Freebie. I'll earn that. And he literally brought it out and made it work in a very convincing manner. So, you know, when you have that in your back pocket, it has to be a little bit scary. Now, he might just choose to go with his strong picks. He might bring out the Executioner, something that he feels is really, really strong. That's what he had a really dominant performance with in the top 16 there. So that might be one of the killers. He might go with those comfort picks, or he might just keep unloading random things that the teams might not know how to play against. And, you know, if you're Agony, you have tons of hours versus these top tier killers. And I would be willing to bet that they have very minimal hours, if any, versus some of these lower tier killers, because you don't really see them in a competitive setting.
Yep, I'm just waiting to hear exactly where we are going for this brand new best of three series. The maps, once more, randomized through our pool, and we'll find out exactly which three maps we'll be heading to for this series. It actually does look like it's going to be Blood Lodge up first, heading over to the Autohaven Realm. Then we're going to Grim Pantry, and then after that, it's going to be the Father Campbell's Chapel to wrap things up for these teams. So that's a nice little variety there. Blood Lodge is quite a large map, but has so much visibility for the killer, so you might expect to see some nurses picked there if you're going to see nurse picked in this series. Grim Pantry, Otstarva has played it twice so far in the tournament. The first time he picked Pyramid Head, the second time he picked Spirit. So those are the picks that he's brought to the table. And Father Campbell's Chapel we've seen once so far, and it was the Invincible Kittens taking on Pulse, and it was a nurse and a Spirit picked up on that map for those two teams that not here today. So we're going to see exactly what they do decide to bring out. It does seem that since Agony have fallen down into the losers bracket, they are the team at the advantage. They are going to be calling where they want to go first, and they've decided to go Survivor first. Otstarva, well, he is a man that loves to surprise everybody. It's the Plague. He's selected once more here on the Blood Lodge. It seems like the visibility is what he wants to try and make the Plague work.
Yeah, I like that idea, and I doubt those expect that coming. Will he run a similar build as to what he ran in the losers round 3 for Shift W Gamers, which I really feel like threw them off? or will he run even a different build? The nice thing about Plague is she actually has like multiple different builds that you can kind of do with her that are all fairly effective. And like you said, on a map like Blood Lounge, that you can see, or Lodge rather, I just call it Lounge all the time out of memes, besides the point. You have all this visibility where you can vomit over these walls. So those walls are not as safe as they could be on some of the other maps where she can't really vomit around the corners. You just keep looping her really tight and you struggle with that. But we'll kind of see what he does with his build. I suspect he'll mix it up. I don't think he's going to run the same exact build that he ran last time.
Isn't that the rule about Starva? Is he never runs the same build twice in a row? I'm making it up. He obviously does. He constantly is testing specific builds specifically to see how well they do. He has a stat sheet for them when he's streaming on his Twitch channel to see exactly how effective his builds are. We are going to be jumping into game 1 of our best of 3 losers bracket final between the Gentleman and Agony. Spam that lava to help XxShinobazuxX if you want him to win this series here, as he's loading on in with the Plague on the Blood Lodge. And we'll have to see if he is going to mix things up just a little bit with his build, or if he's going to be trying to surprise them with the Devour Hope again. We can't wait to see exactly what he does bring to the table. But for Agony, they're a team that was this close to making it to the grand finals. It was an unforced error that almost any team could have made when it comes to the scoring of the points and keeping that track in your head, and now find themselves fighting for tournament life in the losers bracket final. It is the build that we saw yesterday versus Shift W Gamers. Hex Ruin, Hex Devour Hope, Hex Retribution, and a Bamboozle, and already Ryan's on a totem. Which one was it? I mean, he's cursed by Retribution because that's the effect of it, but it's the Devour Hope gone, it looks like.
It's the Devour Hope already at the start of the match. That's exactly what you don't want to happen. That's like worst case scenario. So he won't have the Devour Hope in his back pocket. You probably would have rather seen the Ruin going to the wayside, because they might have expected like a Haunted Grounds being played. But Ruin will still be in play, but he'll just be straight out that perk the entire time and won't have. And I speak too soon. Commentator's Curse is going to lose his second his second Hex Totem, which
Oh,
it was Retribution this time.
it was the Ruin. Apparently, there you go. Yeah. No, because I was, I suppose, a little bit confused that I still see that Hex perk totem on Dr. Rock's face here. After the Retribution has been revealed, but it's still there. So he has just lost everything that he wanted in this matchup. That is very unfortunate for XxShinobazuxX. And you talked yesterday and today, in fact, about the fact that Shift W Gamers probably weren't prepared for the Plague. May have not even scrimmed against it in their lead up to this one here. I know for a fact that Agony, Quantum, Legacy, these teams that have played in DBG League have faced numerous Plagues. They're used to this. They know what this is. They know how to deal with it.
Yeah, I would assume that I could see some competitive Plague being played. So it is interesting. They've already gotten 2 gens. It has to not be feeling very good for Otz in this situation. Does the two of the main Hex perks going down right off the gate, essentially just having the Bamboozle to lock up those windows. And, this team is doing a really good job of just getting away. Ryan trying to hit the jukes there, but gets caught in the locker with the vomit, and that it will infect him. So he still has a little bit here. And usually you can kind of... I'm a bit surprised that he threw that, because a lot of times you could just take a hit, right? Like while you're poisoned like that. Like who the heck cares? Just, and rather than throw it, just continue to loop, take a free hit, and then once you're actually injured or got hit, then you drop the pallet. So he drops it there. I'm not sure if he just was trying to get the stun, waste some time, but might have been a slight misplay. And it looks like Otz is trying to get the mind games there, but it is really difficult being an M1 killer in this situation. And a lot of the mind games that were going to come relied on those Hex totems.
Jeez. I mean, we're already 4 gens down, Hexy. This is possibly the fastest Survivor game that we've had so far in this tournament. XxShinobazuxX is struggling versus Agony on the Blood Lodge. Gonna consume that Corrupt Purge just to try and get a little bit of snowball pressure. Try and find a single point here. We have not had a game yet, Hexy, where the killer has received 0 points, and this might be the first. coming through for this tournament. XxShinobazuxX needs to try and find something versus Agony if he is going to be able to keep his team in it on the Blood Lodge in match number 1 of this loser final series. Another cleanse comes through, keeping Ryan nice and safe. Dr. Rock is infected and is going to go down. So XxShinobazuxX will find his first down and take the hook, I assume, as quickly as possible to secure that point. No?
I assume what you'll start...
slugging.
Yeah, I would assume what you'll start seeing soon too is these teams will probably start cleansing off the play or off the infection if they are infected, because it can start to become a little bit difficult for Plague to continue to hold her footing when she has to extend all over the place to get this thing. And as you're seeing Finger Guns going ahead and cleansing, they are down to the 1 generator. It is going to probably be getting finished somewhat momentarily, and as you're seeing, XxShinobazuxX has to trying to travel a bit to get that power up. Now that he has his power up, very, very scary, but you can almost just outright avoid it. And with the camaraderie pick there, if they just even get slightly near, there goes the generator as we expected. They can kind of leave him on the hook and just wait that out. And another downside to Plague as well is when she is powered up, she glows, and you can spot her so far away. She's basically just like, look at me, flashlight on her, basically. This should be a hit if she gets, if XxShinobazuxX gets stunned there, he will actually swallow the vomit and lose the power up altogether. Doesn't quite get stunned there. Is going to be trying to make some distance. Looking like he's just going to drag him into the wall there and let his team kind of open the door. If I was them, I might just take the... Well, actually, they could afford to just go for the save there. You know, they're going to have the ability to do that. It just comes down to, do they want to have the potential of rewarding XxShinobazuxX with more points when they could just basically give him 3 points in total? And yeah, that's what they're going to do. So they're going to give him 3 points in total and just take the out. An incredible performance from Agony. As you see, if you just cannot get the pressure versus them, they are incredibly fast with the generators. I think this team has the fastest generator potential out of all the teams in this game. They have just been pumping and pumping and pumping, and XxShinobazuxX just unfortunately bad luck with the totem spawns. His master plan was fooled this time around, but he's down but not out. This is going to be a best of 3 situations, so he will be able to do this again. I don't really feel too good for the gentleman going into this, and then unless they just completely snowball, and we already know that Agony is going to go with either Nurse or Spirit. If I had to guess, they probably go with Nurse for this particular match. Tons of vision, and once he gets the boom bop bam downs on those survivors there, it's pretty much going to be a GG. And that's the unfortunate part when you do have these kind of wash matches. It does become really difficult for the survivors in the next match, or the players in the next match, to come back from that major downfall.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a mammoth task for the gentlemen survivors to come back from here, like you mentioned. And I mean, XxShinobazuxX scored tied first for hooks in a gamer's killer when he played Plague into the Shift W gamers on Wrecker's Yard yesterday with this exact same build, but versus Agony, it is the literal opposite result that we saw yesterday in our matches. That is an extremely dominant match coming through from Agony, and now for the gentlemen, they have to essentially do the unthinkable and play a perfect survivor game versus Finger Guns, whatever he brings to it. You know, the gentlemen, the survivors are good. We've seen it time and time again. Hayden, Jack, Chopper Down, and ASAP. Really solid survivors. You know, they know how to loop, they know how to pressure, they know everything that they need to do to try and get those points, but it is almost an impossible task to ask them to go through a game and just not lose 3 hooks, you know, to get more than that. It is going to be Finger Guns coming into Blood Lodge, and wow, Hexy, it seems like we are going to see a newbie coming into the roster. It's going to be Finger Guns treating us to his Hillbilly. He's decided if he's going to do it, he's going to do it here on the Blood Lodge versus the Gentlemen Survivors. This is exciting because Finger Guns is known as one of the best hillbillies in the world, and hasn't really been able to bring that to a show. Now, this is I'm already figuring out big brain Dowsey moment right here. Finger Guns always is the killer for any 1v1 European tournament. You know, Dave 18 is probably the person who holds the most of them. And what happens is he will essentially get two really good players that can play a single killer. He'll give them Enduring and maybe, I don't know, I'm all ears as the only two perks that they can bring. Maybe Shadowborn if they want as well. And he will do 1v1s, and he will just time the survivor on the Blood Lodge or on a map, right? Finger Guns always loves to bring his they bring double engravings. So maybe what we're about to see is Finger Guns going, I like to 1v1 and I don't really need much here to do. He might bring something a little bit more stronger, but it would almost be a treat to see the double engravings flick from him. It's not as strong as some of the other add-ons, but in a 1v1 scenario, it can be quite fun to witness.
Yeah, obviously they locked in the killer here before they went into this, but you know he still has the potential to switch his builds and his add-ons before these matches go. So he could do something fun like that. Just assuming, but you know, with $15,000 on the line and Oracle sitting sitting to the side for the run back there, possibly if they can make it through this, they probably want to come through and just dominate at all possible. And I'm assuming he's probably going to run the more strong add-ons. Obviously, because of the Hillbilly nerfs that he's received, we've actually allowed him all his add-ons because he doesn't have the Insta Chainsaw add-ons like he used to have. So I'd be curious to see. I mean, he could even have fun with it running the Oblivious type chainsaw stuff and just flying around and catching the team off guard with these really weird chainsaws and just being incredibly mobile, which can be really difficult to deal with. He won't be as effective on some of these loops and flicking around the corners with the chainsaw, but his mobility will be really good. And you know, when you have a dominant first game like that, it should make him feel a lot more confident going into this match, especially with a Hillbilly pick.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about some of those new add-ons for anyone who may not be as familiar with the Hillbilly since he received his rework. They added a cooldown overheat meter to his chainsaw, so he can't continuously use his chainsaw throughout the trial. He is punished for overusing it. And as far as add-ons are concerned, he's got some really interesting ones. You know, still got the speed add-ons in Doom Engravings and Death Engravings, which are unchanged now after receiving a bit of a buff and a bit of love after the rework. But some of the more fun ones are stuff like Iridescent Brick, which after 2 seconds of chainsaw sprinting, you gain the undetectable status effect, so he can cross-map across the Blood Lodge if he wants to. Now, I suspect these teams are pretty capable of communicating where the killer may be, so that might not have as much effect. Another great add-on is Apex Muffler, and when you pair that with Tinkerer, what Apex Muffler does is it makes the chainsaw silent for any survivor that is outside your terror radius, and Tinkerer removes your terror radius, so it just makes your chainsaw silent during that 16-second undetectable status of Tinkerer. There's the low pro chains as well, which allows you to essentially continue your chainsaw sprint through a pallet or breakable wall, and if you hit a survivor within 5 seconds of doing that with the chainsaw, it just counts as a regular attack. And one of the things that Hillbilly has really struggled with in the competitive scene is that every survivor, when they play versus a Hillbilly in comp, basically just insta-drops the pallets when the Hillbilly comes. They try to stun him on the chainsaw, but typically what happens is the Hillbilly hits the pallet and then breaks the pallet with the chainsaw. So I would not be surprised if Finger Guns decides to bring low pro chains for that exact reason. Oh, nope, he is just going for, essentially going for lift control. He's got the Doom Engravings and Pig House Gloves, which moderately reduces the heat gain when you start to rev a chainsaw. So it's essentially what Crack Billy or Doom Engravings Billy would have been back before the rework.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. That's probably a stronger pick coming out for a Hillbilly. You know, again, with this much money on the line and just, you know, pride on the line, you're going to want to run what's strong, maybe rather than even gambling it. Because, you know, you do have a dominant performance, but you still can lose. Survivors are very, very strong in these matches, especially when they're all in comms and they've been practicing and scrimming. But he does find Chopper here. Chopper, one of my favorites as far as his jukes throughout it, unfortunately gets caught by Finger Guns. Finger Guns, a Hillbilly main, just does quick work of Chopper. I don't think he was quite expecting that fast chainsaw from around the corner and does end up catching it. Chopper going on the hook with almost half the time of Corrupt Intervention, which is exactly what they want to see. Has to feel pretty good here. I mean, you know, assuming he could just have an average game, he's pretty much going to sweep this. tries to hit the chainsaw, close to overheating, tries to flick that, but unfortunately mistimes it just barely.
Already not a great start for the gentleman here. The first hook has already gone the way of Agony's finger guns on the Hillbilly, looking to try and pull their team forward in the series. Body block the window, and the chainsaw looks like it's going to find the hit through the pallet as well. The time good for finger guns, and that's going to be the second hook coming on through. Just one more, he ties the series, and two more, and I believe that will be match one concluded as far as points are concerned. We'll have to play it out, of course, for the sake of sportsmanship, but man, this is a powerful start coming through for Agony Scale. I guess I want to just make a correction that, you know, Big House Gloves and Doom Engravings isn't quite what Doom Mix and Crack really used to be, because, you know, it doesn't reduce your chainsaw cooldown or the charge time either. But, you know, it's probably the closest thing that you have because of the reduced the rev time that adds to it. It allows you to play in a similar manner.
And this is the power of Billy, right? He just insanely mobile, can fly around the map, can go from one chase to the next chase to the next, and almost just unfazed. He doesn't have to deal with the travel times as much as some of the other killers, which is really good. And as you're seeing, Fingergun's going to try to hit this. Not quite sure what happened there with Chopper as far as like going into that. He didn't even mind game the red stain either. So weird that he got caught in that situation. Maybe thinking he could dead hard through him into the pallet stun, but unfortunately it just didn't quite work out for him there. And that pretty much is a tie now, no matter which way it goes. So all he needs is one more hook, and Agony will end up taking this match. Now, if I was Gentleman, I would just kind of try to be regrouping myself and just kind of preparing for the next one. Try not to let this one get to you too much. It was just a rough start, bad RNG on the Hex totems. We're all familiar with it. That's kind of the risk you run running these totems. They can be incredibly strong, some of the stronger perks or perks in the game. But unfortunately, when they get destroyed early on, you just get no value. And it looks like Hayden might get caught out in the open here. And I'm assuming Fingergun should catch this. Nice flick around the corner, catching Hayden. And this will pretty much be the GG going to Agony over the Gentleman. There's nothing they can do to come back, and they still have 5 generators up. So as you're seeing, just a much different performance coming out between Agony and the Gentleman.
Yeah, this is a domination. Still 5 gens, like you mentioned, which is just unreal from Fingerguns. Showcasing the Hillbilly here on Blood Lodge, and why he's known as one of the best in the world when it comes to this lovable character. Does seem
lovable,
like the first generator will get completed. I mean, you may have differing opinions on Hillbilly, I suppose. I forgot who I'm talking to, Hexy. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, but that was actually an incredible chainsaw around the corner there. I really like that. Fingergun showing that he has tons of practice, having really nice flicks, even on the nerfed Hillbilly with the heat mechanic, and not really struggling too much with the heat meter. The biggest downfall with this nerf isn't really the heat mechanic. It's more the fact that he doesn't have the fast chainsaws where he can kind of whip around the corner like he used to be able to, and just have these good reads and whatever. So it takes him a little bit longer, and I feel like that's why you're seeing them a bit less. This does look like that'll be the down on Chopper as well, and that should be a death hook. Yeah, because he shouldn't have. Yeah, he doesn't even have D-Strike. So that's a death hook 4 gens up.
The nerves potentially for the Gentleman coming through here on show on the Blood Lodge. This has been a dominant Hillbilly round, and I mean, I've talked to so many competitive players about Hillbilly, his viability in comp play, whether or not you can bring him into these matches. They all said that he's dead, and Fingerguns is shining some hope, I suppose, onto Hillbilly's narrative here, and saying it's viable, it's possible, it needs the right circumstances. Here in a losers bracket final, he is demolishing the Gentleman. That's going to be another hook coming through onto Jack, their second of the trial, as the Gentleman try to close out the generators as quickly as possible and I guess regroup and recover. And like you mentioned before, Hexy, you're probably using this time here, not really talking too much about the game that's at hand. Though the one thing that I hope that the Gentlemen aren't doing is being silent. because this is what happens when you get in your own head. Everyone goes silent, no one talks to each other, and then the communication is lost. The gentlemen right now, they need to keep their spirits high and know that this is a best of 3 series and they can come back into it. It's not over until the Fat Lady sings, and they're going silent and not talking to each other and thinking about how these games can be played out in the future. Then that is a serious downfall potentially for the team. So I really hope for their sakes that they keep their heads high in this first game, knowing that it didn't go the way that they wanted it to, and then can bring it back heading into match number 2.
One thing I want to note too is, I don't know if you're noticing this, but Finger Guns is playing a phenomenal Hillbilly. If you notice, the middle of the map there is kind of riddled with pallets. There is a lot. There is a lot of pallets, and the gentleman should be taking full advantage of this, just trying to really loop that and throw them down quickly. And there's really no excuse on why they're getting caught this quick, other than Finger Guns is just a mastermind of predicting where they're going to go and then hit them with the one-shot chainsaw. Because, like, look, if you look in the middle, dude, it's pallet. So they have the tools. It's not like they had bad RNG for the map or anything, and this is just domination coming in from Finger Guns on the Hillbilly. This will be another hook and death coming in on Jack. Hayden going for the save on ASAP. So yeah, it's kind of like you're saying. I really feel like they need to try to just go back to the drawing board, assume that the first match didn't even happen, regather themselves, regroup themselves, and just get ready for this next one. Keep talking, keep figuring out what they can do for the matches. They did fairly well. I mean, as you're seeing, they are down to just one generator there. It's just the hook pressure. It was just boom, 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 boom. Too many people going on the hook too quickly that I feel like ultimately cost them this, especially with kind of how safe their map layout looked from what I'm seeing in the spectator cam.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Lodge is riddled with pallets. And typically you're going to get relatively good RNG on this map, and for the survivors here, they did. It's going to be ASAP going down here, leaving just Hayden left alive, and I mean, Finger Guns doesn't have to mess around. He can just hook, they call it, or attempt to hooker. There is a decisive strike, which will, I guess, pause him in his attempts. Almost the perfect game here for the killer roll. He needs to just hook Hayden 2 more times to be able to achieve the perfect score. I doubt Finger Guns is looking for that kind of domination in the match, but certainly getting close with this one here.
Yeah, so ASAP just trying to close the distance. There really isn't too much that can happen here. I mean, he could pretty much go down and then try to just give him the hatch. Tries to hit him with the nice little 360 with the flashlight, giving him that little momentum spin there, but that should be the hook and death. And I'm not quite sure if Finger Guns did notice the hatch earlier on. I wasn't fully paying attention to that, but obviously Hayden knows exactly where the hatch is and is going to try to gather that, but it will take about 10 seconds here before ASAP is completely out of the match. So Hayden has a little bit of time, does have the camper crows above his head, and I don't think Finger Guns knows where the hatch is, so this should be a hatch escape, but still too much of a defeat there. An incredible performance from Finger Guns, an insane amount of hooks, 3 hooked all of the survivors other than Hayden. Very, very dominant. I'm really impressed on the Hillbilly play there, especially with the way that map was laid out.
Very hard game. Like, extremely hard game coming through for these 2 teams, or for the gentlemen, I should say. But it's a series, XD. This is only game 1, match 1 of the series, and they have a full map pool ahead of them. So I don't think they're necessarily out for the count here. What I will hope to see from these players is the potential to hold their head high moving into the next match here. Let me just get the map pool back up on my screen. I believe it was Grim Pantry. We already know what it is. Grim Pantry is going to be the location of the second match here. And since the gentlemen lost the first match of this series, they will get the coin flip. They can pick the side that they wish to go to. And we'll see exactly what they do decide to pick in this scenario here. But like I mentioned, they just need to hold their head high heading into the Grim Pantry. see exactly what they can do to outperform outperform Agony on their role here, and see if they can bring it back into the series.
He needs to get control of the match early. I really feel like a lot of that came down to just bad totem placement and them getting rid of a lot of his build early on. So, going versus a plague with like one perk is fairly easy, especially when that one perk is bamboozle. So, maybe go back to the drawing board here, and hopefully he has selected a stronger killer. But I'd still like to see some sort of mind games going on there, because I do feel like that's their strength, and I hope it doesn't get to them, because I really feel like that could have worked if he just didn't have really bad RNG at the start. So we'll see what kind of happens with this. He has played. You said he played on this map twice already, so we'll be going here again. I am a little curious what you'd lock into this map. We might end up seeing like a spirit or something, because he did play a spirit earlier on in the match, maybe wanting to bring out a stronger killer for this. This is losers final. Whoever loses this will be locked into third place, but whoever wins this has the potential to go in to the winners final, the grand finals, and try to take the bag, I guess you could say, of the $15,000 tournament, earning them $10,000 for first place or $4,000 for second place. So definitely where you want to be as far as this goes. And in Agony's situation, they might be prepping and getting ready and just being like, oh, we got a long road ahead of us when we go versus Oracle again. It might be a bit bad, but let's not count them out yet. We've seen Otts do the unthinkable, going into losers bracket at the start, arguably playing, I believe, the most matches in the tournament, because he went in, or their team, sorry, the gentleman went into losers bracket right at the start, and then they had to crawl their way out. So they've been in the trenches. They've been in worse situations. This is a good situation for them to be in, because they're taking home money, right? Like no matter what. So hopefully they realize that they are a great team. They're a fairly new team that just got tossed together, so they don't have as much competitive practice, but they show time in and time out that they are capable of doing this. And I really want to see them perform in this second match and give us the third match we want.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget that in round one of the winners bracket, when Shift W Gamers and the Gentlemen took on each other for the first time, that was a tiebreaker match as well. So not only did they play the most matches, losing in round one of the winners bracket, dropping into the losers bracket immediately, but they also had to play essentially a best of two series to determine who would be the victor in their first game matchup in the best double elimination. So they have played the most matches coming forward here so far in this tournament. We are looking forward to match number 2 of this series after Agony took it convincingly in the first of it. As the gentlemen lost their first matchup, they get to choose which side they want to go first, and they've decided to go survivors first onto the Grim Pantry and try and set up Otts with a good score to try and close it home in the second match. Agony will be playing Killer first, and Finger Guns has selected to play Spirit, as we would expect from him here. The Spirit on Grim Pantry. It's an interesting choice. The main reason I suspect that they wouldn't go Nurse on Grim Pantry is that there is actually a bug introduced on this recent update. Surprise, surprise. And the bug is that the dock of the has become a dead zone. You cannot actually blink on top of the dock, not the main building, the dock itself off to the side. And so the teams were made aware of this multiple times before the tournament started, so that they knew that if they were to play Nurse on the Grim Pantry, they were doing so at their own risk. So that's probably why we're seeing the Spirit come through on this map specifically.
Yeah, and the nice thing, too, is, well, I guess it's not necessarily a nice thing, but another bug that's happening is the Spirit's footsteps when she's shift walking. Right. And swamp maps can be pretty bad for her because it's all mud throughout that. So a lot of times it's really easy to hear her footsteps when she's shift walking near you. But in this situation, because of this bug, she actually has no footstep sound. So you will not hear her tramping through the mud. So this will give them an advantage on the Spirit. The downside of the maps tend to be a little bit big, which can always be a little bit rough, but I suspect you're kind of right on why the nurse wasn't picked is because of that dead zone. We did make all the teams aware that there is that dead zone. It's only in that one little part of the map. But, you know, if the teams are aware of it and you know you're going against a nurse in this situation, you might as well try to take advantage of it. This is kind of the cards we're dealt, unfortunately, with some of the bugs that happen in the game. I think all the teams are rising to the occasions and dealing with it just like we are. And I think that is why the Spirit was selected. We'll pretty much see what Finger Guns has been doing, given his finger guns, pa, 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 and coming in with the Spirit. I'm assuming he's going to come in really aggressive, probably going to be running that Rancor Noed as he's been running pretty regularly throughout. I would assume that's where he's going to go again, but we'll see. Maybe he makes adjustments. Maybe he's wants to do something a little bit different, get in the minds of the gentleman and mix it up a little bit. And what I really want to see from the gentleman is hopefully they just don't let that match get to them and they can come out and be aggressive on the gens. They did get 4 generators done in a match that looked like it was going very south, so they're definitely capable of doing it. Now let's just see how they perform.
Match number 2 of the loser bracket final. The gentlemen now surviving for their tournament life versus Agony's Finger Guns, the Spirit locked in. We'll see exactly how they are to play this one. It's the 3rd time that these survivors have played the Grim Pantry so far. The first was versus Frisk's Plague back in round 1 of the tournament, the single elimination stage of the tournament. Then later on down the line, we did see them play another game in their 3rd matchup of the tournament in the losers bracket. That was versus the Invincible Kittens, and a match that the survivors hard fought to try and make win, and it actually came down to a survivor dying while slugged Hexy to be able to get the points necessary to progress in that matchup. There was the difference between life and death in that scenario. Now they're doing it once more. It is going to be Chopper trying to take the first chase versus Finger Guns.
Yeah, that was just a crazy match. It was back and forth. So that was crazy to watch that one. But I do see that Finger Guns made a slight variation to his ability. He's choosing to run the Ruin, Pop Goes the Weasel, Noed. And I wonder if he made the change because he wasn't really gaining any value off the Rancor in these earlier matches. And if that's the case, I really like to see that, you know, realizing like it does have the potential to be really good, but I need to make some adjustments. That's multiple matches I've played and gotten like 0 value off of the Rancor. So making an adjustment there, well, other than the generator knowledge when the gens are completed. So does get a nice down onto Chopper and the Corrupt Intervention. This is usually what you want to see is one hook for the Corrupt Intervention going to the wayside. No generators lost at this moment, and I don't think any of the generators are that far along either. Oh, he does actually wiggle out. Wait, what happened there?
Previously, he didn't wasn't able to get the dead hard off. So there it is, the dead hard on the floor. There is a massive ping difference between these two teams. The gentlemen are the survivors all the way on the west coast of the states, and for the rest of the Agony team, they're Central Europe, so or even closer to Western Europe for the majority of them. So a little bit of a ping discrepancy between these two teams, and potentially why the dead hards haven't been perfect so far in this match between Agony and the gentleman. There's that bug though, Hexy, coming up full force. You could imagine how much of a punish that would have been if the wiggle off was a full 5 seconds rather than 2 seconds there. Chopper would have made massive difference. Massive error though from Finger Guns, and I guess it shows the nerves for these teams. Agony, sure, they're up 1 point in this series, but the nerves are getting to them.
Very nice. And yeah, it looks like the gentlemen have made the adjustments. Much better performance this one. Already 2 generators done for 1 hook, and they really just gained a ton of value off that wiggle off. That's really put him on the back foot, because he could have probably got the hook and then shift walked away and pushed one of the gens and got a kind of a reset there, if you will, or at least started it regressing. But unfortunately that was unable to happen, and 2 generators go. ASAP getting caught there. And it looks like they are continuing the aggression on the gens. This is exactly what you want to see. Second hook coming out, and it's definitely quite a difference from what we saw in match 1.
This is a much faster pace. I mean, I've just got word that in the first game of today, it took 4 minutes 21 seconds for the gentlemen to complete their first generator, which is the longest we've had today, potentially the longest of the tournament. I'm just getting it re-verified because it was actually the gentlemen versus ankle breakers that previously held that record when Otstava took on the survivors of the ankle breakers. Right now, Chopper in his second chase uses that dead hard nice and early to get some distance and dodge out a phase walk swing. ASAP going to be rescued from the hook. Now the gentlemen need to try and get that pressure down. Hayden halfway through one. One more generator to be done after that. A much better pacing coming through from the gentleman. This is only the third hook of the game, mind you. So excellent pacing coming through from the gentleman in this series, or in this matchup here. Can they get that generator done in time is the question. Hayden's trying to commit to it. Actually, dead hards directly on into the killer to try and distract. Oh, this might be a double slug.
No.
Oh, no. The gentleman going for a ballsy play to try and keep a generator alive versus finger gun spirit, and that's potentially too much of an attempt, too much of something special to make it work. That's another 2 hooks going over to finger guns potentially, and these 2 survivors are on the back of the map as well, so they don't even have an easy route to get away from finger gun spirit.
Oh, I hate that decision, Dowsy. I really wish they would have just got off the gen, kind of split up a little bit, would have got the one down, and then they could have went right back on the gen and been fine. But unfortunately, now they get 2 downs, and that gen's going to regress anyways. They probably thought they could finish it. We know that he had the D strike enabled, so maybe that's what he was counting on, is that maybe he would get picked up, hit the D strike. Unfortunately, some of the killers with these stuns are bugged currently, and rather than being a 5-second stun, it's only 2 seconds. But I really dislike that, and I feel like that's going to kind of be the little bit of the momentum that Finger Guns needs to kind of just start shoving this match. All of them injured, and as you see, that gen regressed a ton, and that's the value you gain off of a perk like Ruin, and they still in play here. Nice down on Jack.
It was trying to 2-man it, so that means that Hayden doesn't really have an option to get rescued. Second stage onto Hayden here. Entity summoned on to Hayden. The gentlemen are desperately trying to complete a single generator versus Agony's killer. This is not your normal split pressure that we see from these competitive teams throughout the best of the best tournament. This is a panic from gentlemen survivors. They seem so clean coming into this match, but now falling apart on the grim Pantry as their tournament life is flashing before their eyes. Chopper down on the ground, and this is going to be his third and final hook here on this game. And still, this generator on the hill, uncompleted.
Yeah, they're doing well, but I do feel like they're focusing on this one particular generator a little bit too much. I would like to see a little bit of the split pressure while one person continues to kind of, keep aggression on that gen. So Finger Guns is distracted, keeps wanting to go for that gen while they're slamming another generator across the map. That's typically what you're seeing out of these teams. It's really difficult to travel all over the place and, guard multiple gens. Unfortunately, a slow vault there coming in from Jack, where he should have probably been fine as far as that vault went, and is going to go down. He is inside here, which sometimes can be a little bit of a maze to get out, but looks like Finger Guns gets out pretty easily there, and will be putting him on the hook nearby. And it looks like they are doubling up on gens again, and I think that was an explosion. Yeah, it looks like they failed the skill check.
ASAP blowing it up as he enters onto the generator that puts Hayden in a difficult position. Now dead on hook after going second stage earlier on. The deliverance does come through to get Jack off of that hook immediately, but Hayden plays it wrong. The red light mind game coming through from the spirit too strong, and Hayden is going to be exiting this game after only 2 hooks here. Agony up to 9 versus the gentleman's 8. One more generator to be completed for them to be able to get the 10 points available for that. And it seems like an impossible task. Again, doubling up on these generators. It has been their downfall, I think, in this game, and Finger Guns is punishing it so well. He should even be able to hear the generator from the other side of the wall here, which will then force the survivors to split one more time.
Yeah, I really would have liked to either see them healing a little more or splitting on the gens, because the fact that they're not healing makes it just so difficult to deal with Spirit. She's just going to come at you. You're going to be moaning like crazy. It's going to be really easy to track, where if they spent the little bit, I think it's 20 second on a cross heal, healing like that, it's worth the trades. just to be able to take multiple hits and not be tracked as easy. Check with the BMT bag. Now, this still is a very winnable match for the gentleman. There is a lot of hooks that did come into play, and it is going to be a 4K sweep, but this is much better compared to what their first match was, where it was pretty much nothing they could do as far as coming back. This is definitely still a comeback match where they can still win this, but it is definitely not what you want going into your next match as far as being hot. And we'll see what he brings out for the killer gameplay there. But, you know, Agony, just insane pace on the generators. We'll see what happens. Yeah. But that is a 4K. 2 hooks on on 3 of the survivors, and a 3 hook on a chopper. Almost maximum points you can earn there in a match.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about historics, I suppose, Hexy, then XxShinobazuxX is currently tied the record for most hooked in a game. Did it yesterday versus the Shift W Gamers in the losers bracket to put himself in this position with his team. So he's definitely got that up his sleeve. He is capable of having those high hook games. 11 hooks was what that record was, tying it with Aaron from day 1 of the tournament. That is a dominant performance nonetheless. Agony with a total of 13 points out of the possible 16 available to them. On their killer side, the gentlemen only getting 8 of the possible 18 that they can receive in this matchup. And you have to imagine that the whole world is now resting on XxShinobazuxX's shoulders. He has to try and do the unthinkable and have the most dominant killer game I think that he's played this entire tournament. If he wishes to hold his team in this losers bracket final and give them the opportunity to face Oracle in the grand finals.
It's definitely possible. You know, Shift W Gamers are some gamers. They have some gamers on that team, right? And he was able to get 11 hooks on them. So if he can kind of run that back and do something similar there, they do have a good chance. But it's not a good feeling when it is match point on this one, and even if he does win, they still have to play another one. So it's definitely going to be a little bit rough for Odds to come through with this. But I do believe in him, and I'm hoping he maybe picks something a little bit stronger, just baseline. And maybe not so much relying on too much of the mind games, but I really like the mind game potential. It's just unfortunate with the RNG of that last build, it didn't quite come through. And I doubt we're going to see him picking like the Wraith stuff again, even though that was really cool. But, you know, he might bring in some other stuff, right? Like I would really like to see some other killers being brought to the table here, because I do think there's some pretty brutal builds that you can run on a lot of these killers. I guess we'll really just see as to what he decides or what he feels is going to be the best killer for the Grim Pantry there.
I mean, I've gone in and sneaked a peek, Hexy, to see exactly what he has picked here for the Grim Pantry, and it is going to be the Hag coming through for XxShinobazuxX. We're going to try and lock down an area of the map with those traps and shut down Agony's ability to push the gens quickly. I suppose it makes sense. You know, if you want to try and shut down a team that moves quickly around the map and gets gens done quickly, you force their movement with the Hag and slow down that game as much as possible to give you the opportunity to find as many hooks as possible as well. And I mean, the Hag can lock down a 3-gen better than some. So it will allow him that opportunity to actually hold them there at 4 gens completed. If he can then get all the hooks necessary, he can force the tiebreaker, or better yet, for his team, find the victory in match 2. So, I mean, you have to remember these teams do get the information as to which maps they're going to go to at the beginning of the series, and then they lock in their killer picks as well at the beginning of the series as well. So this is not an adaptation play. This is what was prepared earlier on in the day by the gentlemen when they found out they were playing versus Agony. And I think it works. I think it works for the scenario. They can definitely make a Hag pick work.
The one thing that I worry about with the Hag pick, though, is she's not as good as getting a bunch of hooks. And I worry that might be her downfall, right? Because a lot of times teams might kind of like wait or be more passive because it's really difficult to save, or, you know, they might single hook or even just double hook someone. And, you know, when you're going into this match and you have them where they double hook every single person, if not triple hooked, you're really going to be looking for hooks. Now, if he can stop and get a nice 4-gen stack, he has a really good potential of just kind of snowballing this. But, Agony just too good about that. We saw that Aaron had that insane 3-gen stack. Like, I am so surprised that they didn't just outright destroy that match. That insane 3-gen stack, Ruin Totem over there and a hook over there, and Agony was still able to get that done. So I'll be curious to see how it plays. I do like the Hag pick going into this. It definitely makes sense, but I'm a little bit concerned needing the hooks and needing to stop the gens. He's going to lose gens early, and then it's really going to come down to how this mid game is going to play out and if he can actually just have the traps to get it done.
Difficult one. So that 13 to 8 scoreline is nuts. And like you mentioned, the survivors, if they want to, can take it slow. As long as they get those generators done, then they will be increasing their points up to a potential of 18. And then any escape after that is worth another 2 points per survivor. So they have plenty of sorry, when I say that, the generators will put them up to 23 over the 8. So it is a ridiculous task ahead of Oddstarver to not only find the hooks necessary, but also prevent the gens from being completed on the Hag. And you're right, she's a slow killer, and she needs prep time. So if the survivors just start pushing out the generators with little care for their lives, then they can find those full 10 points to really push ahead of the gentleman here. So it's this is the most difficult match that Oddstarver has had to play so far this tournament. And heading into it with a calm sense of being is probably the opposite of what is being felt in the Gentleman's Discord call right now, I suspect.
There can definitely be some times where this map will give you like some pretty good generator layouts. The downside is guarding the generator that's in the building there, pretty rough. That's almost like a freebie for survivors if they want it. And then the one all the way on the corner there on the little dock, that one's almost a freebie as well. Hag really not going to be able to deal with that. I doubt she would want to he would want to put all the traps in that area and kind of use that as his playground, unless maybe he's going with some hex totems. So he'll probably be trying to focus on the other side of the map, but it's just rough because those generators are almost freebie, and that's 2 of the generators on the map. And realistically, that's not a good situation to be in. But maybe he ends up having a good basement pressure and can kind of just snowball the match off of that. Maybe there's going to be generators. He has the shack basement, and that could be really good as far as like setting up in that corner or on that side of the map there. Really going to come down to RNG a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be loading into this game for the second match of this series between Agony and the Gentleman. Game number 2 coming up. Oddstarver bringing the Hag to the Grim Pantry. It's where she was made. And we'll have to see exactly what he is able to do in this one to keep the Gentleman alive in this series. 13 to 8. Agony in the lead, 1 up. And already a chase started between Nightlight and Hots.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, already engaged in 2 chases right at the start of the match. That's really, really good for them. Looks like he might be running a similar build from yesterday. He did run Hag with the Franklins yesterday. I don't quite see what the build was there yet, but we'll get an eye on it soon. Ooh. And it does look like the Haunted Grounds just came out too. So he is running the Ruin, Haunted Grounds, Franklins, and Corrupt, and does get a really early first hook with Haunted Grounds pop. Now, I suspect the team might play a little safe here and just kind of avoid that and just wait it out because this is very dangerous. Oh my God! Oddstarver coming in clutch. This is exactly what he needs, Dowsy. 100%. Yeah, exactly. The Haunted Ground down. This is going to be another hook here. Oh, and he's look like he's still trying to gain advantage with the Haunted Grounds, possibly engaging in a chase on Finger Guns. Finger Guns dropping the Firecrackers. I don't believe that's stunned, unfortunately for him. Otsa turning his camera is going to be in the chase, and this should be another down, possibly.
Oh no way! What? The trap got triggered from underneath. that he placed up onto the pier,
no.
and he ended up in the wrong position on finger guns. The unhook comes through onto Ryan, and Dr. Rock will get picked up off the floor. The Haunted Grounds has now expired, and the snowball pressure that was once able to be recovered is no longer for Oddstarver. But the first hook has happened before any generators have been completed, and Hex Ruin still well and truly alive, regressing the generators. It is just now a 2 per game here between the Hex Ruin. I love that that patience though from Odds there, to actually just go, you know what? I don't want to take that trap. That's not where I want to play around. I want to get rid of this flashlight. That's his main objective here. Get rid of Dr. Rock's flashlight.
Yeah, I love that play. That's so heart-wrenching to watch that he blinked above, because I'm pretty sure he would have got the catch there. With the Haunted Ground, that was insanely slick coming in from Ryan, running back in, triggering the trap, and then throwing down the pallet. I really like that play. Got to be incredibly frustrating as a Hag player.
And still no generators completed. This is a very slow start for Agony. They're going to try and pick up the pace now and get that first one completed. On the board, 2 points for them. Ryan finally taking a hit in this chase. The flashlight has been recovered by Dr. Rock. The Franklin's demise not quite having its effectiveness here. Really, it's the flashlight and the med kit, I suspect, that Odds is really trying to get rid of here in this game. If you can get rid of both of those 2 items, then it gives the survivors far less pressure across the board, because that med kit allows you to heal multiple times. And you can just drop it for your survivor teammate to come and pick up, heal themselves in 16 or seconds, or maybe a little bit quicker if they've brought a moderate healing add-on, which I think they have there. Yep, they have. So a little bit faster than 16 seconds, and whilst you're doing a generator. So it makes sense if you can get rid of those 2 items, but it is such a risk to play. Ryan's second hooked here as he engages in chase with Nightlight, but the trap placement wasn't quite good enough, and Ryan got the distance.
And this is where you see Nightlight taking advantage of the survivors having a smaller hitbox, the Hag having to kind of do these wider circles, and is able to get a single loop there before the pallet goes down. Now, if I was Otts, I would be wanting to try to get back to that hook and kill Ryan as quickly as possible, because if he can get the kill here, that's 3 hooks, and that's exactly what he needs in this situation. He needs as many hooks as possible while shutting them down on gens, and there it is. That's exactly what he needed.
He has decisive strike.
He does have decisive
60 seconds
strike. Okay,
off of the hook. Will he hit the skill check? Of course he will. And that's going to be the chase resumed here for Ryan on his death hook. But it seems like Hag may be one of our bugged killers. 2-second stuns. A 360 attempt does come through off the hill, but it's not enough to keep Ryan alive. He is dead. This is doable at this stage of the game. If Oddstarver can shut down the gen pressure from here on out, then he might be able to hold them off.
This is definitely doable. This is 100% doable. He needed that 3 hook there, and if he can continue this aggression and keep them off the generators as much as possible, he still has Rune enabled, so those gens will be regressing. Really difficult to get in on the Hag there, and he's just looking for these hooks and shutting this down, and it looks like he's doing a really good job. Gets the grab by the neck on finger guns. Oh my God, you love to see it. So this will be the hook, as that generator that was decently pushed along is going to be full regressing there. They do end up getting another generator across the map, and we'll be curious to see if Otts tries to continue to guard this side of the map. I believe I'm trying to see if he has a 3-gen stack on this side. We see one far away, which looks like that'll be going, and there might be the potential of a 3-gen stack.
Remember, 9 hooks was gained for Agony's killer finger guns, and he held the gentleman at 1 gen remaining. So we're about to enter into the same territory here. Oddstarver so far has only secured himself 4 hooks total.
So he does have a 3-gen stack. And it looks like he was starting to prep the doors there, if you notice that. He put a trap over by the door. It looked like he might have been potentially going over to his Ruin Totem, but he didn't, and looked like he was setting up for a possible late-game trap, which is very smart if it ends up working out for him.
I mean, the timing on these trap pops by Agony, they know exactly what they're doing in this matchup. They're pushing Oddstarver to his absolute limits. Oddstarver trying to fake the pallet break here so the survivor walks into the trap whilst he's breaking it. There it is, the trap movement Starver does get triggered. Nightlight going to go onto his first hook here. Finger Gun's now working one of those generators across the map. Where's Dr. Rock is the question. Has he got good progress? Is he able to? No, he's just starting his first gen. Okay.
This is still winnable. 3-gen sack.
He's actually going to struggle off.
Might actually wiggle.
But, I mean, Hag is one of those killers that does have a 2-second stun, I think. Yep, you can see that. So Starver will recover. One of the bugs that we're currently facing with Chapter 17 is that some of these killers are bugged in a way that makes it so that they only have a 2-second stun when a survivor wiggles off their shoulder. So that affects the wiggle off there on the struggle bar, but it also affects the decisive strike as well.
As we're seeing, this is kind of the difference between the teams. If you notice Agony splitting the generators, this is more what you want to see because it's a lot harder to guard 2 generators than just the one. And Gentleman, with their game plan, was kind of doubling up on gens, trying to do it slightly faster. But unfortunately, if the killer keeps pushing you off of it, it kind of doesn't work for you. There is going to be the deliverance coming in from Nightlight, does have the D-strike, and he is going to get the chase on Finger Guns. I mean, this is anyone's game at this point. I'm hoping he possibly goes with the slug. That does look like what he's doing there. I'll be curious to see if Nightlight just goes on the generator, possibly trying to pop the adrenalines, or will he go for the pickup? I would assume he's going to hop right on the gen there.
This is neck and neck.
If they can get this gen done, it'll be very close.
No way. It is going to be the second hook coming here from onto Finger Guns. Another point awarded to Starver's killer.
We just need to hope that Nightlight is not on that generator there. Otz is making me super nervous that he hasn't gone and checked it. Oh, no, he's not. He's actually across the map there. So this is still definitely doable. 100%.
But think about the hooks. Hexy still. Dr. Rox hasn't received a single hook state. He needs to almost split the pressure between Dr. Rock and Nightlight coming up here if he wants to have a chance to be able to match the hook states. That
is true. He does need one more hook. One more hook and then to kill everyone with none of these generators being completed. And I almost assume that, you know, at this point in the game, they might not even go for the save here. They might let him go and then just try to shove down a gen. And then if they can't, try to get one in the hatch. This is really difficult. This is where Hag is like absolutely disgusting. You can't, like, with a 3-gen stack on her, it becomes like one of the more difficult things to go against. And the real downside here is Dr. Rock has not been on the hook at all. So right now, the pace is to tie if Dr. Rock gets saved. So if Dr. Rock gets saved here, he could potentially tie it, which would send us into an overtime match. But if they don't save Dr. Rock, then that will be Agony taking it just by the point there. They are going to discover the Ruin Totem, which is a good find.
Yeah, the dominance of a killer match of being awarded here for Agony in their first game. Dr. Rock is going to be found, and I suspect he might go down unless he has the balanced landing off of this or a dead hard well timed. There it is, or dead hard well timed. Gets him away in just a moment, but the swing through the window will finish that chase there for Dr. Rock. No deliverance on Dr. Rock. And like you mentioned, Dr. Rock needs to be unhooked for the points to tie.
Now, this team might not be aware of the points. Obviously, we are seeing the points updated in real time here. So if they are point counting, they might be aware of this situation. If they're not, I mean, this is neck and neck. This is about as close as it can possibly get between the matches, right? It's literally one hook off. I don't see Nightlight being able to do a gen here. I'm assuming he's probably going to try to go for hatch. Has he discovered it? That's the real question. He might just let Dr. Rock go on there and just try to find hatch. If he knows where hatch is, this could be a dub.
Nightlight currently hiding on the opposite side of the map of the hook, trying to just keep distance between him, and I suspect that's exactly what they're attempting to do here, is let Dr. Rock's timer run out on this first stage so that he doesn't have a chance of wiggling off the hook himself. Then look for the hatch escape on Nightlight to secure the victory.
A little bit scary. I don't know if any of the teams know. It seems like Nightlight has been spending a lot of time over in this corner of the match, though, so possibly knowing what's up. And there was that trap placed earlier in the match in this general vicinity. Remember, he was trapping up the doors, so if that trap is still there, he might accidentally trigger it.
Looks like Nightline wants to play the gate game here versus XxShinobazuxX. Entity summoned on Dr. Rock, who is going to let go now to attempt to give that attempt of escape to Nightlight here. The hatch has been located by XxShinobazuxX. We will see him close it in just a second here, powering the exit gates for the gentleman. And Agony now have the opportunity to escape, but I do think, unfortunately, due to the fact that Dr. Rock did not get rescued, the hooks are just going to be one less if XxShinobazuxX is able to find Nightlight. One less point.
Yeah, just barely off. It's so sad to see. It looks like Nightlight's going to try to get this. And honestly, with the way these doors are positioned, if he 20%s this and then gets off of it, he should actually be able to get this door open, I would think. But it looks like Otz is going to discover Nightlight. And it is going to be a chase. I would assume that he'll eventually capture Nightlight and get him down and dead there. So just coming down to the sheer hook difference with the same amount of generators being completed. Man, it's so sad to watch. Otz playing an incredible match, almost exactly what he needed to do. But with Dr. Rock dying the way that he did and Nightlight just trying to get the door open, unfortunately, he's going to be just shy on the points there.
What a terrible way for the gentleman to lose this series, I think. Hexy, a very sad occasion for them, but they can hold their heads up high knowing that they placed top 3 here in the best of the best tournament. A team put together to try and showcase that they are the best in the world, and man, they definitely showcased some amazing stuff here in the tournament. The quality of matches that we saw from the gentleman, the quantity of killers that XxShinobazuxX brought to the table, just blowing minds constantly. Definitely an exciting team to have witnessed here, but it is going to be Agony with just 1 point between them, progressing to the grand finals of the best. It's a scenario that should have happened earlier, you would potentially say. With just 1 point between them was the story between Oracle and Agony, and this time it does go the way of Agony. They are going to get their rematch attempt here in the grand finals of the best tournament. Let's just see exactly how today has gone down. Earlier on, it was Oracle 2-1 to Agony in a sluggerfest of a match with tiebreakers pushing that series all the way. And this time now, Agony is able to close it out in a clean sweep over the gentleman, putting them back up into the grand final. We are going to be going to that very shortly, Hexy. But commiserations, of course, to the gentleman who do finish third, securing themselves $1,000.